TenZ has been at the forefront of the NA scene since the launch of the game. With flashy aiming prowess and the potential to dominate in professional play, it's easy to see why. He is a truly unique prospect in the North American scene, and there's a lot to be learned from him. That's why today, we're going to pick apart his playstyle and find 11 things you can learn and apply to your gameplay today. TenZ chooses his duels wisely. He runs through calculations in his head at a rapid pace and decides which duels are favorable and how to take them.
Bricks.
In our first clip, we can see TenZ get a fast-paced 1v4 to close out a round, and we get to watch his decision-making in the process. After he closes the kill on Viper, notice what happens here. TenZ gets the comm that there is one player bricks, one player main, and he knows there is a player in halls. TenZ needs to either find a fast pick onto the halls player or a kill on chamber to prevent getting closed in on by his enemies. He realizes the Skye isn't going to give him a very easy fight, so he smokes her off to protect himself for the time being. Then he turns to fight chamber. After grabbing the kill, he rechecks halls, then turns his attention to Sage, who is attempting to trade chamber. After landing the kill on Sage, he understands that Skye used that small moment to gain some ground on him, and then he deals with her. TenZ selected this duel in a fashion that prevented the attackers from gaining too much space on him. Once he realized the Skye wasn't an ideal fight, he turned towards the player aggressively peeking him. Once this player was dealt with, it was obvious Sage was going to swing for the trade, so he took care of that player, then killed the Skye who crept up. If, for instance, TenZ took too much extra time fighting the player in halls, Sage could have crept up and fought with her Skye, while the chamber moved positions to close in on TenZ even more. These were all snap decisions, which in the end led him to a victory. You as a player are capable of selecting fights that you view as the most favorable. Recognizing these things comes with time, but the more you focus on selecting the right duel in situations like this, the better you become at it. In that clip, TenZ showed an amazing grasp on angle isolation. Angle isolation is easily one of his strongest suits, and he strives to only take one fight at a time. Watch how he clears a site split here.
I got the start.
There's 3 on site.
One enemy remaining.
He gets the comm of 3 players on site. It's a 2v4, and TenZ knows he needs to get something done here if his team has any chance of winning the round. Watch how tightly he clears elbow. It's just enough to fully swing onto the angle, but not quite enough to be exposed to screens. He is then shot at from screens, so he knows he is able to take another peek while pre-aiming the angle. Killing the Skye, he proceeds to clear the last uncleared angle and Raze swings into him, giving him the kill. In every single one of these fights, he perfectly exposed himself to only one angle at a time. The swings were just wide enough to fully swing on the angle, but just shy of being exposed to the next. This is what clearing and taking fights should look like in a situation like this, where you're really looking for a pick. These duels were very unfavorable to the enemy team as he was swinging into them one after another, rather than peeking all of them at once. TenZ forces enemies to take unfavorable duels often, and hits on it harder by forcing their crosshair into horrible positions. This flexible player is a master at forcing the crosshair of the enemies into poor positioning through the use of his erratic movement.
I can age your mail.
Spike down mid.
Playing backside here.
By updrafting high into the air as Jet, it forces the enemy crosshair up to that position. If he was unable to land this kill, he could have dropped, forcing the Reyna's crosshair down. In this situation specifically, he is at a major advantage. TenZ knows what he's going to do in this situation. If he decides to drop, his crosshair will quickly follow suit. On the other hand, if TenZ decides to drop, the Reyna will have to react to that, thus placing them at a slight disadvantage. In the next kill, we see TenZ jumping back into the angle right over the Jet and her operator's blind spot. He re-clears Mail with his updraft and is swung by Sage. Jumping the entire time, once the Sage drops into a spray, TenZ reacts and stops jumping, and opts to crouch. The Sage was crouch spraying in a panic because he was such a hard target to hit, but when he stopped moving, it was even harder for the Sage to adjust to that change of pace. This is a really cool mechanic that all the high-ranked Jet players tend to abuse. They will force the enemy's crosshair into a weird position at the start of the fight, then shift the pace of the fight entirely by stopping momentum or strafing to the side. They always know what they will do, so in turn, they're always a little bit ahead of the opponent. This obviously works best with knives as opposed to rifles, but you'll see them doing it with an updraft onto boxes quite often. Let's look a bit on TenZ's positioning. He is a master of positioning himself favorably.
Hold it. Pushing down.
Never mind.
In this clip, we can see TenZ recognize a split push from the enemy team. After picking up the first kill with his Marshall, he repositions to main and picks up another. Turning around, he watches the push arcade, picks a player off, then continues backwards towards B main. Instead of peeking the players over and over in arcade at the start of this push, he goes back and forth between main and arcade. He recognizes that he is able to maximize his potential by shifting his peaks in between these angles, especially since he basically has an operator against these ecoed opponents. When you're playing a round in Valorant, re-peeking into a push is generally not a great way to play a defense round. So TenZ shifts his peaks and alternates his peaks between the two angles. Now tell me if this sounds like you. You watch all these aim guides, you study TenZ in Demon 1, and you aim train, but nothing seems to fix your aim. Chances are you're heavily overcomplicating the process. And that's where SkillCapped comes in. Our courses are designed to simplify the game into stupid simple terms so that anyone could start climbing. It's like if you were just given a checklist to start top fragging in Valorant. Wait, actually it's exactly like that. Recently, we broke down players like TenZ's aim into a simple 6-step method that every player can follow to start dominating their matches. Aimers like TenZ have spent thousands of hours perfecting their craft to get to the point they're at today. The problem is, most of you don't have that kind of time to get good at Valorant, and the game isn't exactly too fun when you suck either. That's why we've put in the time to simplify the game for you, so that way you can focus on the things that actually matter and climb as fast as possible. Don't just take our word for it though, because we also offer a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't climb, you don't pay. This is our promise to you that our product really does work. Check it out using the link in the description below, and we'll see you there. This is a common trend with TenZ I noticed. He will re-peek angles, but generally on defense, if he doesn't have to, he has a good grasp on playing fallback angles.
One enemy remaining.
After this first pick in the round, TenZ falls back to a more passive angle in order to hold in case he gets pushed. Once he gets to pizza, he is now in a perfect position to take one fight and escape in case he gets swung. He takes the pizza fight, then falls further into market in order to assist his B players who are dealing with the other half of the attackers. He lands the kill on Sage and fully shuts down this small push. This round may not seem super flashy, but once again, we get a glimpse at TenZ getting his one, falling back to a safer position, and continuing on in the round due to his prime positioning. If you're using the operator, this is a great guideline to follow. The operator is a super clunky weapon, and once you're spotted at an angle, it's smart to fall back and wait for another swing rather than stay in the exact same position. TenZ repositions a lot when using one-shot weapons, and it's one of the reasons he's able to thrive with them. TenZ uses these fallback angles a lot, but primarily uses them with the operator and the Marshall.
Anyone's going to try and slip through. He's going to hear these steps. Two coming his way, two through short, another found. TenZ is farming, that's three. How many more are you going to get, TenZ? Up and over? Go on, buddy, yeah, why not, TenZ?
Here we can see the cross is smoked in lobby. This makes it too dangerous for TenZ to reliably hold with a Marshall, as he can be peeked from either side of the smoke. Due to this, TenZ falls back and utilizes one of the greatest assets to any Valorant player. This insane jet, like some players at the high ranks, possesses a set of ears that allow him to hear the enemy's footsteps. He plays off sound and recognizes there are two players pushing up on him. He stays tucked in the corner and is able to easily dispose of both of the G2 players before recognizing it was clear and pushing the site to assist his team. Updrafting onto the box, he secures one last kill. Even though you're on Duelist, that doesn't mean you have to be full speed the entire game. Sometimes playing tucked and playing off of sound is all you really need to come out on top in a round. Let's not forget, one of his main prospects as a player is his quick and flashy aggression. This can be easily replicated by any player, more specifically any Duelist player.
Down.
His team readies themselves for an execute, and right when they're ready, he flies into A site with the smoke, clearing as much as possible on his way in. His KO loses his fight, but instantly TenZ is ready for the trade. He continues on into heaven, with no hesitation once site is clear to take even more space for his team. When you're watching a player like this, it's easy to get caught up in him getting the kills, and it's hard to see how and why he's actually getting them. The enemy team was distracted by his team flooding site, so he took advantage of that by getting effective trades. Once site is cleared, he moves into heaven where he knows the defense retakers are attempting to get onto site as fast as possible to assist their teammates. He takes advantage of this intense moment and gets right into the face of the opponents. On Duelist, it's important that you don't hesitate. This doesn't mean you have to play this aggressive. But your movement onto site needs to be very precise and timed properly with your team so that trades are happening and space is being made. This can easily be achieved. If you are a Duelist player, it's important that you understand that if you hesitate, your chances of losing the round are sliced in half just due to that. So learn here from TenZ and take note of how quick the process is for him. Quick dash onto site, quick trade kills, then instantly proceeding to take even more space once site is clear. Taking space is easily one of the most essential jobs for a Duelist player, and in pro games especially, you can see TenZ taking space any way he can.
Rifle in hand, Whippy gets it as well. Dangerous scenario for him, but luckily TenZ finds that timing. Can anyone shut that one down? Yes, Sander gets the one, but initially traded out. Still, he is on fire right now. TenZ.
The Sentinels are pushing on the site against V1 here, and the second TenZ sees this mid-site smoke, he changes his approach. He notices that the enemy team smoked off garage, meaning that they temporarily gave up control of that area and are going to primarily funnel through CT. Using this knowledge, TenZ sneaks into garage and picks off an opponent's CT while his team waits for him to get something done. Off of this kill, he goes back to continue his job of taking space and assisting his team in the execute. V1 still is holding to the knowledge that TenZ is CT, so they aren't even paying attention to garage at this point. This allows TenZ one free kill. Following this kill, he posts up and waits for Zombs to swing into his crosshair, ending the round. In this round, you can see the reactive part of his brain take over. It may be hard to catch, but the simple knowledge of, hey, garage is smoked off, that means they expected us to split, which also means that they've likely abandoned garage. TenZ uses this information he gathered to make an amazing play, catching their rotators off guard, then quickly repositioning back onto site to give them more fighting power in that area. Reactively playing Duelist and finding little cracks in the enemy's defense is essential. It comes with time, but all you have to do is look out for it, and you'll start to recognize these openings much more frequently. The opening he found against V1 isn't just a one-off thing for him either.
Wait, careful, cat.
I'm in triple.
I think I heard him with cat.
Yeah, tank. 120.
As the enemy pushes onto site in this round, watch as he quickly reacts by pushing through the smoke off the Jett dash. While Jett is fighting his team, he is able to pick her off easily and draw some attention to himself. Cypher pushes in here and loses the fight, but deals significant damage to TenZ. From here, he dashes to the close position to try to play off of his team better, but is closed in on from Cat. TenZ is able to pick the Cat player off due to a well-placed recon bolt from his team. In this instance, TenZ used the best timing possible to get on the site quickly and assist his team. Rather than wait for the smoke to fade, he pushed out when the attention was drawn towards his teammates and completely fragmented the attacker's push. This won't always work, obviously, but if you're able to find a good opening like TenZ does here, it'll do wonders for your team and help them lock down the site. Taking space also goes hand in hand with something pretty important in Valorant: abusing SMGs.
Go.
Keep going. Holy fuck.
Watch out.
Perfect. Let's go. Keep going.
Starting the round, we instantly see this disgusting player jumping straight into B main. He takes care of the Jett that had the misfortune of peeking rather quick. But note how fast he moves here. He smokes off his dash to pillar and instantly goes into heaven and abuses the rope while spraying with a stinger. Once landing this kill, he continues to clear heaven. At this point, he realizes he doesn't have the best range for the coming engagements, so he directs his Reyna to push forward. Once in CT, he lets his teammates take first contact, then sprays down the opponents as they fight his teammates. High fire rate, high mobility. TenZ uses this to his advantage as he hunts down every player, not giving them a second to breathe. SMGs in this game are great for moving quickly throughout the map and dispatching of ecoed players as quickly as possible without too much risk. It's best when paired with a teammate or two, so you're able to trade each other out. But either way, TenZ was fast onto site and even faster into heaven. SMGs are not to be slept on. Use them on your anti-eco rounds and even use them on your half buys if the situation is right. TenZ as a player is a phenomenon. All his clips look out of this world, and it seems as though every single clip is just due to his aiming prowess. But if you really take a second to analyze the way he plays, you can see all the little things he does that makes him a capable professional player. TenZ, while using the operator on defense, almost never peeks the same angle twice in a row. He opts to reposition after every shot to prevent getting pre-aimed. He goes fast onto site and finds any opening possible while creating as much space as possible for his team. He fulfills his role as a duelist with no hesitation. Even while he is fighting multiple players on site, he is doing his absolute best to isolate as many of these fights as possible. TenZ is an absolute aiming monster, but his positioning is way overlooked. Players don't pay his positioning much mind, when it's one of the main reasons he actually frags out as much as he does. You can learn so much from this player. Sure, your aim might not be as great as him, but a lot of what he does for the most part is calculated, thought out, and can be replicated given some practice and effort. Alright though guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a bit more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord, so that way you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving. So that's going to be all for this one today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.